When you think of the perfect cowboy, tall, rugged, with the face of a movie star and the body of a Greek god, one name likely comes to mind. If you grew up watching classic television or Golden Age westerns, chances are you're thinking of Clint Walker. He wasn't just a screen presence. He was the Western hero, a symbol of strength, honor, and charm. But behind the broad shoulders and iconic role of Cheyenne body was a man with secrets. Secrets that even his biggest fans never knew, until his daughter came forward with revelations that shed light on his private life. In today's documentary, we uncover what Clint Walker's daughter finally confirmed about the struggles her father endured behind closed doors. This is the story of Clint Walker, a legend on screen, but a man who faced heartbreak, tragedy, and untold adversity off camera. Clint Walker became a household name through his portrayal of Cheyenne Body in the groundbreaking Western series Cheyenne, which first aired in 1955. He captured the hearts of millions, but the man behind the cowboy hat led a life riddled with hardship. While his on-screen persona embodied confidence and strength, Walker's real-life journey was shadowed by misfortune. From life-threatening accidents to personal losses, the extent of which only came to light years after his passing. Norman Eugene Walker was born on May 30th, 1927 in Hartford, Illinois. Of Czech heritage, he was raised alongside a twin sister in a modest family. As a young boy, Clint was no stranger to hardship. He dropped out of school early and entered the workforce as a teenager, first working in a factory, then later on a riverboat, a world away from Hollywood. At just 17, Walker enlisted in the United States Merchant Marine during World War II, a bold decision that marked the beginning of his lifelong pursuit of purpose and adventure. After his time at sea, he traveled across the country, taking on odd jobs in towns like Brownwood, Texas, Long Beach, California, and Las Vegas, Nevada. It was in these moments of uncertainty and manual labor that Walker's character was forged. In Las Vegas, he worked as a doorman at the famed Sands Hotel, a surreal memory when you consider that the man once opening doors for the wealthy elite would soon become one of the most recognizable faces on television. With the outbreak of the Korean War, Walker rejoined the Merchant Marine, but this time with renewed purpose, driven by patriotism and a longing for something more meaningful. Upon returning, he made a pivotal decision: to abandon the path of wandering jobs and pursue something greater, a future in entertainment. It was here, at a turning point in his life, that fate introduced him to Henry Wilson, a Hollywood talent agent infamous for crafting the careers of leading men. Under Wilson's guidance, Walker didn't just polish his acting skills. He underwent a total transformation. This transformation included a complete rebranding. Norman Eugene Walker was no more. At Wilson's urging, he adopted a new name, Jet Norman, a sleek, marketable persona designed to ignite curiosity and appeal in post-war America. Though short-lived, this identity shift was a strategic maneuver, a calculated effort to reframe Walker not just as a man, but as a star. It was Clint Walker's natural gifts, however, that truly set him apart. Towering at 6 feet 6 inches, with a chiseled 48-inch chest and a narrow 32-inch waist, he looked less like a man and more like a sculpture brought to life. Audiences were captivated. He wasn't just tall, he commanded attention. And in 1955, all the stars aligned. Clint Walker landed the role of Cheyenne Bodie, a performance that would define his legacy and make him a Western icon. But fame, as history has shown time and again, doesn't shield one from pain. Walker's personal life was filled with adversity. In 1971, he suffered a near-fatal skiing accident that left him temporarily paralyzed. Few knew the depth of his recovery, or how close he came to never walking again. He also endured financial instability and legal conflicts, battles that quietly drained him behind the scenes. While the public saw a strong, smiling cowboy on television screens, the reality was far more tragic. It wasn't until 5 years after Clint Walker's death in 2018 that his children finally broke the silence. They revealed the full extent of their father's struggles, not to tarnish his legacy, but to humanize it, to show that behind the camera, he was a man grappling with pain, resilience, and survival. What the world assumed to be ordinary financial trouble was, in truth, a deeply harrowing chapter of Walker's life. His rise to fame wasn't just about talent or appearance. It was a journey of persistence, reinvention, and sheer willpower. And while Henry Wilson's influence gave Clint Walker the push he needed, it was Walker's own strength, both physical and emotional, that carried him through. The towering figure we saw on screen was more than just a Western hero. He was a man who conquered unimaginable odds, fell, rose again, and left behind a legacy far more complex than any script he ever read. The true turning point in Clint Walker's life came when he secured an audition that would change everything. His towering presence, magnetic charisma, and rugged charm captivated casting directors instantly. That singular moment set into motion a journey that would define his entire career and elevate him to legendary status. Soon after, Walker was cast in what would become his most iconic role, the lead in the television series Cheyenne. It marked the birth of a new chapter as he stepped into the boots of Cheyenne Bodie, a solitary, wandering cowboy searching for purpose in the brutal aftermath of the American Civil War. For audiences, it was love at first sight. With Clint Walker on screen, television had found a new kind of hero, one who didn't just catch outlaws, but captured hearts. When Warner Brothers announced his casting in June of 1955, the groundwork was laid for a cultural phenomenon. Cheyenne debuted as part of the Warner Brothers Presents anthology, rotating alongside adaptations of classics like King's Row and Casablanca. But it wasn't long before the studio and the world realized Cheyenne was the crown jewel. And much of that success could be credited to Walker's performance, which turned the show into a breakout hit. His character wasn't just another gunslinger. Clint Walker brought depth and humanity to Cheyenne Bodie, transforming him into a symbol of rugged decency and quiet strength. The show frequently showcased his commanding frame, often with shirtless scenes that became a visual hallmark. But it was more than his physique that held the audience's attention. It was the sincerity in his eyes, the conviction in his voice. Walker became a household name almost overnight. With the meteoric rise of Cheyenne, he wasn't just a television star, he was a cultural icon. Yet his ambition reached far beyond the small screen. Warner Brothers took notice and teased plans to cast Walker in a major feature film titled The Story of Sam Houston. Though the project was never realized, it demonstrated how seriously the studio regarded his star power. In 1958, Clint Walker made a strong cinematic impression in Fort Dobbs, directed by Gordon Douglas. The film allowed him to step out of the shadow of television and showcase his dramatic range. The performance was praised by critics, including the New York Times' Howard Thompson, who described Walker as the biggest, finest-looking Western hero ever to grace the screen. Though the film had modest box office returns, Walker's performance elevated him in the eyes of Hollywood, solidifying his image as a bankable leading man. Warner Brothers doubled down on his potential, casting him once again in another Douglas-directed Western, Yellowstone Kelly, 1959. This time, the film earned commercial success and reinforced Walker's standing as a dependable star in the genre. Meanwhile, Cheyenne episodes were repurposed and edited into feature-length, theatrical releases, a rare move at the time that helped Walker reach international audiences and expand his global appeal. Now recognized far beyond American borders, Walker began seeking opportunities to break free from the cowboy mold. He branched out into other genres, exploring more dramatic and suspense-driven roles. In craft suspense theater, he shared the screen with actors like Robert Duvall, proving his capacity to hold his own among the dramatic greats. He even dipped into comedy with the 1964 film Send Me No Flowers, revealing a surprisingly lighthearted side to his otherwise stoic persona. Then came a defining moment in 1965. Frank Sinatra handpicked Walker to star in the war drama None But the Brave. The film marked a departure from the Western landscape and gave Walker the space to deliver a more emotionally nuanced performance. Once again, he proved his adaptability, and Hollywood took notice. Television also continued to offer him new platforms. Guest appearances on hit shows like The Lucy Show showcased his comedic timing and widened his fan base even further. Walker's evolution as an actor was unmistakable. The man who had once been typecast as the silent cowboy was now carving a far more diverse legacy. His role in The Night of the Grizzly, 1966, once again placed him in a frontier setting, this time facing off against a ferocious bear. But it wasn't just about brute strength. It was about resilience, grit, and emotional gravity. Later that year, Walker traveled to India to film Maya, a production that exposed him to international settings and further broadened his repertoire. But it was in 1967 that he delivered one of his most impactful performances, in the critically acclaimed war film, The Dirty Dozen. As part of an ensemble cast, Walker stood out, portraying a character filled with intensity and complexity. The role marked a significant milestone and proved, definitively, that he wasn't just a Western actor. He was a formidable presence in any setting. Even after the peak of his cinematic acclaim, Walker never lost his connection to the genre that made him famous. In 1969, he returned to the Western fold with More Dead Than Alive, and fans welcomed him back with open arms. It felt like a homecoming, a return to the rugged trails that first made him a star. Throughout the 1970s, his career continued to evolve. Walker experimented with new roles, different tones, and unfamiliar backdrops. Yet, no matter where the scripts took him, one thing remained constant: his dignified presence. The New York Times would later note his silent sincerity, a rare quality that made him not just a star, but a genuine icon. From the open plains of Cheyenne to the jungles of None, the Brave, and the war zones of The Dirty Dozen, Clint Walker's career was a journey of transformation, not just for himself, but for the entire television and film industry. He proved that even the most typecast heroes could evolve, that behind every towering frame there could exist depth, complexity, and raw emotion, and that true legends never stop growing. In 1969, Clint Walker began exploring new territory, taking on supporting roles in two comic westerns, Sam Whiskey and The Great Bank Robbery. Many had typecast him as the quintessential male lead, but Walker defied expectations, revealing a surprising versatility and a natural comedic flair within the Western genre. That same year, he stunned audiences again, joining the ensemble cast of the eclectic musical comedy The Finks. This unexpected role showcased a hidden talent, his singing voice. Fans who had only known him as the rugged cowboy were charmed by his performance, further cementing his status as a multifaceted entertainer in the golden age of westerns. Following The Finks, Walker made a notable return to television. He starred in a series of television pilots that were presented as made-for-TV movies as part of ABC's popular Movie of the Week series. These included Yuma in 1971, Hard Case in 1972, and The Bounty Man later that same year. His continuous presence on the small screen and his willingness to explore diverse roles reflected a deep commitment to his craft. But 1971 also brought a life-altering challenge. In May of that year, Walker suffered a catastrophic skiing accident on Mammoth Mountain. The situation was dire. The severity of the injury led many to believe he might be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. But Clint Walker was not an ordinary man. In a remarkable recovery that defied medical expectations, he returned not only to walking but to working, embodying the very spirit of resilience that had defined his on-screen persona for decades. Following his recovery, Walker resumed acting with renewed vigor. In 1972, he supported Telly Savalas in the biopic Pancho Villa, a role that further broadened his cinematic range. By 1974, he was headlining the short-lived TV series Kodiak, playing an Alaskan patrolman. Though brief, the series added yet another dimension to his acting legacy. 1974 proved to be a prolific year. Walker starred in several made-for-television films, including Killdozer and the thriller Scream of the Wolf, both of which reaffirmed his place as a beloved fixture in the TV landscape. In 1976, he took on the lead role in Baker's Hawk, a film set against the rugged backdrop of the American West, a perfect canvas for Walker's enduring presence as a leading man. The following year, 1977, saw him in two more significant roles: the made-for-TV horror film Snow Beast and the mystical western The White Buffalo, a film that delved into the symbolic myths of the American frontier. Clint Walker's career was more than a collection of roles. It was a testament to transformation. His journey from a small-town boy to a symbol of American masculinity served as an inspiration to generations of fans and filmmakers alike. Outside of his professional achievements, family remained a cornerstone of Walker's personal life. He was married 3 times, with each union lasting roughly 2 decades. His first marriage to Verna Garver began in 1948. Together, they had a daughter, Valerie, in 1950. During these early years, the family relocated to Long Beach, California, where Walker worked as a port security guard and nightclub bouncer. Eventually, he made his way to Las Vegas, working as a deputy sheriff and providing security at the Sands Hotel. It was there that actor Van Johnson encouraged him to consider acting. Reflecting on that time, Walker once said, "I'm not going to get that far carrying a gun and a badge. It doesn't pay that well. If you make movies, you make some pretty good money. Plus, the bullets aren't real." Walker and Verna divorced in 1968. He later married Giselle Hennessy in 1974. Tragically, she passed away in 1994. In 1997, he found love again, marrying Susan Cavallari in Sparks, Nevada. Susan maintained a low public profile, but was a constant presence by his side until the end. Their bond was evident in every public appearance, a quiet testament to enduring love. Beyond the camera and red carpets, Walker held strong personal values. He described himself as a peace proletarian and was intentional about his dietary choices. He famously avoided beef, explaining, "We don't eat beef, but we eat chicken and salmon." His political views were equally candid. He was an outspoken supporter of Barry Goldwater during the 1964 United States presidential election, aligning himself with the conservative values Goldwater championed. His willingness to voice his beliefs revealed a man unafraid to stand firm in his convictions. Over the course of his career, Clint Walker received numerous accolades. He earned a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a star on the Texas Trail of Fame, the prestigious Golden Boot Award in 1997, and was inducted into the Hall of Great Western Performers at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in 2004. But perhaps the most poignant chapter of his story came later, a chapter revealed only after his death. For many years, a part of Clint Walker's life remained hidden from the public eye. That secret was finally brought to light by his daughter, Valerie Walker. She confirmed long-standing rumors that her father had been a heavy chain smoker during his later years. She also revealed that he had quietly battled periods of depression, especially following his near-death experience in 1971. That same skiing accident, so dramatically publicized at the time, had left deeper wounds than anyone knew. During the fall, a ski pole pierced his heart, leaving him clinically lifeless. Through swift action by medical professionals, his life was miraculously saved. Yet while he recovered physically, the emotional and psychological toll lingered for the rest of his life. In his final years, Clint Walker's health declined, ultimately leading to congestive heart failure, the condition that claimed his life on May 21, 2018, in Grass Valley, California. He passed away just 9 days shy of his 91st birthday. It was a quiet end for a man who had lived such a monumental life. But now, the full story of Clint Walker is known, from the big screen and television glory to the private battles fought in silence. A cowboy, a performer, a fighter. His legacy remains forever etched in the heart of American cinema.